Hello everyone. Welcome back to John de Silva Photography from Bogota, Colombia. Today's topic is going to be traveling to and photographing in Antarctica. A lot of people have this impression of travel photography as being all glamorous and easy and fun. Let me tell you, it's not. Those who also do this type of photography will tell you it's very arduous. There's a lot of things that go on that you have to do that is much harder than in your normal life. Getting up early in the morning to get the best light, all the work it's involved. Packing, of course, you're traveling, you're a travel photographer. Packing, flying, going through security. Traveling these days, especially internationally, is not a fun ordeal. You've got languages. Here in Bogota, Colombia, I know a little bit of Spanish. It's helpful, but it's not the same as being in Canada or the United States, Britain, any kind of English-speaking country. Logistics, you got to plan so much. So much goes into planning, mental preparation, physical preparation. Weather, you're at the mercy of whatever the weather is doing. You can do all your research ahead of time, and still the weather will not cooperate. You've got limited time to get the photographs that you need for your business. You don't have an endless amount of time. Finding accommodations and so much more to consider. I'm not even going to go into. So glamour, no, I don't think that, I wouldn't say that this is a glamorous profession. However, let's get into the topic a bit. Antarctica. Now, I've been needing to go to Antarctica for a long time. I've been to all the other continents, have been to 60 plus countries, and have a lot of material in my archive and my portfolio to show my clients and prospective clients. But I was always lacking Antarctica. Of course, it's the most remote place on Earth. Therefore, it's very difficult and expensive to get to. I was going to go to Antarctica 3 years ago, but it got scrubbed because the expedition company that I was working with had financial issues. So had to wait another 3 more years before I could pull it off. Now, providing images from all over the world for me, for my business, is very important. Clients and prospective clients are looking for varied and different places, specific places for commercial advertisements and things like that. So to be successful and to be able to say, yes, I've got that for you, I have to have it. I have to have it. So the difficulties, let's get into the specifics of Antarctica, which is quite the unique place to go to on the planet. Motion sickness, let's start with that, and the Drake Passage. Many of you may already know about the Drake Passage. 60-foot waves at times. It's one of the most notorious straits that you have to go through. And I'm not ashamed to say, I have a fear of motion sickness, of seasickness. I've experienced it before. It is not fun. For those who experience that as well, you understand. So for a number of years, I put off the trip. And then, of course, when I finally said, okay, I'm going, then other matters took over, and they had to get canceled. But now it was finally done. I got lucky, smooth sailing in both directions, but I know many people, well, I know a few people who have gone and were not so lucky. So it's 36 hours. If you make the trip, I hope you are as lucky as I am, and it's all calm. What they call Drake Lake. They've got the Drake Shake, which is really bad waves, and Drake Lake. With the Drake Shake, passengers have been sequestered in their cabins, bathroom bound. It's not fun. Bedridden. There's even people who normally don't are susceptible to sickness suffer when the waves are that bad. So that's one of the big obstacles to overcome. When you're shooting, let's move to shooting in the cold of Antarctica. Obviously, very cold weather, so it's going to be different than shooting in conditions like this, 70, 80, 50 degrees. Very different. Cold weather wear. You have to first protect your body. You cannot be out on deck, in a Zodiac, on the ice, anywhere if you're cold. You cannot photograph, let alone just being in it. So you must make sure you have layers and protect everything that is exposed. I mean, I was totally covered. You'll see pictures of me totally covered. That's the only way to shoot. I had gloves, special gloves, and even with the gloves, I get frustrated sometimes because it slows everything down. It makes your shutter hard to press, changing your settings, digging into your menu. Everything is much more slow and deliberate when you're wearing gloves. And then if you got on a balaclava or hat or a hoodie, bringing the camera up to your face, it makes it difficult to see in the viewfinder. You have to allow for all of these differences from, again, just shooting in an environment like this. 99% of the time, unless you live in a very cold environment, you're going to be shooting in normal conditions. These at Antarctica are not normal. But again, if you want or need these photographs for your business like I did, this is what you have to deal with. So, proper gloves. I talked about, I have gloves with little fingertip flaps that you can peel back, and that does help. But like I said, I personally just found it frustrating. So when I'm not using, making photos, I will stick my hands in my very warm pockets and then bring them out when I have to photograph. That's my approach. Yours may be different, whatever works for you, but keep those fingers free of frostbite. Now, you always have to remember too, your camera and condensation, going from a warm environment of your cabin or inside the ship anywhere, in a lounge or whatever, and then going out into the extreme cold, you're going to get condensation. So you want to take a plastic bag, and I'm going to cover more the details on that in a few minutes. You need a airtight plastic bag to protect your camera from getting moisture inside. On the outside, your lens is the same. You don't need moisture inside your equipment. It's very detrimental. Photographic needs. We're going to go into photographic needs. What do you need? First things first, backpack. You need a good backpack. Not only does a backpack protect your equipment from physical damage, and it gives your gear a place. Always put your gear in the same place. You know where it's going to, you can reach into your bag blindfolded in the dark and know what lens you're bringing out. Backpack. It'll keep your gear warmer. It'll protect your gear. Of course, it's transportation. You're transporting your gear safely. And it'll, when you zip it up, keep it closed. If you're on a Zodiac especially, it'll keep the splash, and there is splash, from coming in and wetting your gear. I've already talked about the airtight bag. That is specifically while you are out in the cold, before you bring it into a warm environment, you put your gear, whether it's one bag or multiple bags, an airtight plastic bag, you put your gear into it before you bring it into a warm environment. That way the moisture, the condensation will form on the outside of the bag, not on the inside of your camera or on your camera. An hour, maybe 2 hours, depending on the degree of variation between temperatures. About 2 hours, open up your bag. Your camera should feel normal. It should be cooled or at room temperature enough so you can use it indoors. Extra batteries. If you don't know it already, you're going to need extra batteries in very cold environment. Your batteries drain quite quickly. Just that's all there is to say about that. I travel with 3 batteries normally, and for Antarctica, I think I might have had a 4th just to be on the safe side. And you always carry them in either a jacket pocket that's or a shirt pocket that's against your body, and then inside it, a coat's over that, or your pants. What you'll have down there, keep those batteries warm. White balance. When you're in Antarctica or any snowy environment, but this is about Antarctica, do not have your white balance on auto. You must choose the conditions that you are in. If it's cloudy, change your white balance to cloudy. If you're fortunate and you have a lot of sun, put it on sunny. If you keep it on auto, a lot of your ice, a lot of your white scenes will go too blue. So if you're on a cloudy day, shooting in ice, water, ice and snow, put it on cloudy, and your snow will be white. It'll be the color it's supposed to be. It'll not put the blue on it. Your light meter. Now, if you don't know this already, your light meters are always trying to render your scene in a middle gray. And a middle gray is an area. And I'm not going to go into the science of it and get into the weeds, but middle gray is an area between complete black, like all dark, and white, or total brightness. That's the easiest way I can explain to you. So that's what your camera is measuring, how it's measuring your scene. It's looking to make whatever you're measuring or you're focusing on middle gray. So if you're focusing or metering off snow, white snow, well, what color is your snow going to look like in the image you make? It's going to look light gray. It's going to look middle gray. You don't want that. So there's 3 ways to compensate for this. And that one is, my method is, I just know when I get into a snowy environment, white environment, inside a white room, I'm going to overexpose my images, maybe by anywhere between a half and a full stop. And I'll take an image and look at it in the viewfinder. I'll overexpose it, and if it looks like what I'm seeing, I'm done. I know that just from my eye. Other methods, which I've never really used, I just started with the knowledge. You set your exposure compensation. You take a picture, and this is in your menu. You set your exposure compensation to overexpose, again, a half stop to a stop in a snowy white environment. And then every picture you take after that, you'll have your exposure meter right where right where you want it. You don't have to think about it. The other method is your alternative metering. So I always meter on spot meter. I meter off my subject, my main subject, and that's how I meter. But you can, with today's cameras, you got a bunch of choices, a bunch of options. Evaluative is one of the things you can use if you don't already use that. And that'll take the totality of the scene, from the whites to the darks and everything in between, and it'll meter off that. So in theory and in practice, your snow should come out white. The thing you have to remember about these last 2 options is, when you're done with your white environment, whether it's a white room or you're in Antarctica, you have to put your settings back, because if you go indoors, if you set to overexpose, your exposures are going to be off indoors or in your new environment, wherever it may be. So you have to remember that. So that's remember to change back to your normal settings once you leave your snowy environment. Another key issue is using a neutral density filter or a clean filter, a clear filter on your lenses when you're shooting in Antarctica. This will help protect your lens, the glass on your lens, your very expensive glass on your lens, from water and snow. So, you want to keep it clean. That way, of course, your photographs, you don't get aberrations where you might be out of focus, or you'll see these little blobs in your image. And so you want to use that. And the final thing about this video that's about Antarctica is, always use your lens hoods. I was taught this early on in school. I remember a professor just emphasizing, don't be lazy, use your lens hood. Not only is it great in Antarctica to keep lens flare off of your, out of your imagery, unless you want lens flare, then that's a whole nother matter, and sometimes that looks cool. But if you don't want lens flare, if you want a perfect, crisp, clean environment, perfect landscape, use your hood to keep direct sunlight, if you have direct sun in Antarctica, if you're fortunate. Or even it's everything's so white, from when you're in an overcast day, you get a lot of bouncing from all the white and the water. All the light comes from different directions, which on one hand makes for a great even tone throughout your landscape, but you can get lens flare from reflected light. So that's really key in Antarctica. But other than that, in Antarctica or anywhere, a lens hood will protect your lens, your very expensive glass on the front, from accidental bumps. I can't tell you how many times, especially my long lens, I've been in a tight area, a normal area, and boom, I'll hit it. And that lens hood, if you're at a table corner or anything that's narrow enough that can hit your lens, you're either going to crack it, scratch it, break it completely. You don't want that. I always have a lens hood on. I see people sometimes just shooting and their lens hood is still on, their lens only backward. They don't even shoot with one. It's a dangerous thing to do. So always use your lens hood, especially in Antarctica. If you're on the Zodiac, if you're on deck, if you're on ice, absolutely. Always, if you see a picture of me shooting that someone else has taken, you'll never see no lens hood on my lens. So I've beaten you to death about the lens hood. That is the final topic of this video. Go to Antarctica, enjoy, make great photographs. If you have any suggestions, anything to add to this video, please contact me. You can do it in the remarks, in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe my video, and I will see you on my next video.